This is the Lit Up Lightworker podcast, bringing you fun and soulful interviews with spiritual teachers with the aim of tuning you in and lighting you up. And this is actually the final live recording of the podcast for this season. I'm going to take a break throughout the entire summer and I'll be back in September. And I couldn't have had a better guest to end this season of the Lit Up Lightworker podcast. So Danielle Paige is an international soul astrologer, intuitive spiritual teacher, and founder of Purposely Divine and Astrology Mystery School. By fusing astrology, energetic healing, and intuition, she's able to tap into her clients' subconscious and help them heal wounds, old patterns, and come back home to their heart. Her work has been featured in Vogue Netherlands, Astrology.com, London Standard, The Numinous, CBS Radio, and more. Danielle, welcome to the Lit Up Lightworker podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that intro. I really appreciate it.
So I'm so excited to be diving into the North Node today, which is something I've heard people talk about, but I'm really an astrology newbie. I find it fascinating, but I've never really gotten into it. I know the basics. I've heard about the node. I've heard it has to do with the life purpose. And I remember when we were planning to do this interview, I told you, Danielle, let's just do the collective purpose of different star signs. And you told me something that really stuck with me, which was, you're not just your star sign, your zodiac sign, you're so much more. There's so much more into our astrological chart, which is what we're talking about here today, particularly the North Node. But before we go into it, Danielle, what has been your journey to doing this work? What has been your hero's journey of discovering astrology, empowering yourself through it, and using it as a spiritual tool to move forward with your purpose?
Oh my God, my journey. Well, I just did 2 podcast episodes on my entire journey. So my journey to get here was not easy. And I wanted to clear that with people, because I think people sometimes just see people online and they see what they're doing and they're like, oh, it's so easy for them. They just know what they want to do. But that was not my journey at all. My background is totally different. I was not spiritual. I didn't know about astrology. I didn't know about energy. I didn't even know I was psychic. I didn't know I was in tune. And then when I turned 30 years old, I had a major spiritual awakening that I didn't even know was coming. And to be honest, I didn't even know it was called a spiritual awakening. Like, I didn't even know what was going on with me. I thought I was having a nervous breakdown and I thought I was dying. So that happened. And over a series of years, which is really important because it wasn't just an overnight thing, but over a series of years, I just started coming back home to my heart and to my soul and to who I really am and to what I'm supposed to be doing here. And it was a wild ride. I mean, I could save all that for another time, but I somehow started awakening, tapping into my intuition, tapping into my psychic abilities, not having any idea what was going on. And then I met someone that introduced me to astrology, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I like astrology. I'm a Taurus. And I'm like, that's it, right? Like, I didn't know anything about it. And he's like, oh, no, there's so much more. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So he read my chart, and I'm like, this is amazing that you know so much about me, and you don't even know me. And so I went home that night, and I kept reading and I didn't stop. And I was like, this is incredible, because this is basically psychology, which I've already always been interested in. But it's like on a spiritual level, it's deeper than just reading a psychology book. Like, there was soul and there was rhythm and there was passion to it. And so I started teaching myself astrology, and it came really easy for me because I've done this before. My soul is just, it's very natural to me. And so I taught myself astrology, and I started using it to really help me understand what I want to do, because I was at a place in my life where I did not understand what was going on. I used to do interior architecture, and the economy tanked, and I wasn't really happy doing that. And so I really just use this as a tool for myself. And then afterwards, I'm like, this is amazing. I actually need to help other people. And so that's how it started. And so many years later, we'll skip how many, right? Many moons later, I am here, and I'm using astrology as like basically a baseline to help people look into the inner workings of their soul and understand who they are and what they came here for, And then, I infuse a bunch of different tools into that as we go. So that is my background in a nutshell.
I love your empowering stance on astrology, because growing up, the idea that I had of astrology was that it was this empowering kind of system where your fate is just written in the stars and you can't change it, and whatever the stars saying happens to you. But I like the fact that you've transcended it to a point where it's a tool to learn more about yourself, to learn more about your soul, to come into your truth, and therefore use it in such an empowering way. Now, what can astrology teach us as a tool in general, not specifically on the North Node yet, but in general, what can it teach us? How can we use astrology to find out what our life purpose is?
Yeah, I mean, astrology is really amazing. It's just so funny. When I tell people I do astrology, I get all sorts of reactions. And like, here's the thing, and I just want to bring this up because I think it's important. I understand that it sounds a little crazy. It's like, what, you do astrology? Is that a hobby? Is that a job? Wait, you make a living doing this? How long? I understand what that sounds like. I'm super logical myself. But I always want to tell people I would not be doing this work this long. I've been doing this now almost going on 11 years of doing this work if it wasn't accurate and if it wasn't valid, because I wouldn't waste my time. Like, I have other things to do, right? So it is such a beautiful tool, because when we look at your birth chart, which is really my specialty, there's two layers. There's the transits in the sky, so the energy going on for everyone, the collective energy, like when we're all under a full moon, when we're all under Mercury retrograde, right? We all go through that energy, but it affects us all differently. So I bring it down to a more micro scale, and I look at your birth chart, which is basically your baby picture. So it is where all the stars and constellations and energy were aligned when you took your first breath here on Earth. And because we are energy beings, that energy gets imprinted into your soul. So with that, I can really understand what you're here for, who you are. There's one other misconception. I like what you said before about that it's all written in the stars. Well, here's the thing. Yes and no. We have a lot of free will. And so someone might say Leo is used a lot. They're like, I'm a Leo, but I read everything about Leo and like, I don't act like that, right?
I'm a Leo, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I love Leos. Oh my God, that's a favorite. I love Leos.
But I totally get it. I'm like that.
Yeah, because there's so many different ranges of things and so many different configurations. And it's also, this is what I say, there is a scale. Let's just say there's a scale from 1 to 10, but it's really like 1 to a billion. Okay, but we're just going to narrow it down. There's a scale from 1 to 10. And on scale of 1, it's like the lower octave, like the shadow energy, like energy that we all do. We all play out shadow energy. We have personas, limited beliefs, right? Things from our family, things from our own fears and insecurities, right? We all have that, okay? Then on the higher scale, let's say a 10, it's all about the enlightened energy. So this is, if we had no fears, no insecurities, how would this energy infuse us, right? How would we use it? How would we express it? But here's the thing, we fall within this range and we go up and down. Like some days we're like, I'm on it, right? I'm not gonna let my ego get the best of me. I'm not gonna let my insecurities, like this is what I'm here for, right? And then some days we're super insecure. Like I just had a super insecure day yesterday and I had to do my work and use my tools and be like, no, this is my ego. This is not the truth of who I am, right? So we fall in the range. And as we evolve and as we grow, the idea is to learn and step into the higher octave. So that's why I could do someone's chart and I can't even predict exactly how they're going to play things out because they have the choice. Like I always tell people, if they're going through an intense transit, they can stay in bed and cry. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but maybe that's what they need to do. Or they can run for president, right? Or run for city council or become an actress, become an actor. Like they can really empower themselves, but it just depends on where they're at in life, where their consciousness is and what they do with the energy. So that's the missing link, I feel like, with astrology that people don't talk about. We have, yes, things are, timing is set up, but what you do with it is up to you. Does that make sense?
So empowering.
So
yeah,
beautiful.
I like how multi-layered it actually is, because we're taught to see it as this very plain single layer that we see in magazines, for example, like, oh, this is what's going to happen this month, this is going to happen this month for this zodiac sign, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's such a deep system, which is what I love about it. Okay, so let's get into the specifics now with regards to the North Node and the South Node as well. First of all, what are the differences between the two? I just did the test, by the way, and I found out that my North Node is Aquarius and my South Node is in Leo. What are the differences?
So this is a really beautiful thing. I've come to learn that, so when I was studying astrology and teaching myself, intuitively, I was like, you got to learn, where spirit was like, you got to learn the North Node. And so I'm like, okay, let's dive into this. A lot of Western astrologers, which I practice, don't focus on the North Node. It's more Vedic. So I actually infuse the both. Like I don't do Vedic astrology, but this jumped out at me as it's so important. So the North Node, let's just say this, the whole chart is your purpose, okay? So there's not one thing, but the North Node is really about your soul's evolutionary journey, which is really your purpose. Because we often think that purpose is like, oh, if I just become an author, or if I just become an accountant, or, you know, whatever it is, that's my purpose. Well, that could be related, but we don't incarnate just for the job. We incarnate for our soul's evolutionary journey. And what are we here to learn, right? What are we here to do? So the South Node, North Node axis is really beautiful. It's this dance of your soul, okay? So the South Node is your deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. So this is what you're so used to doing, so used to being. I often say that the South Node is almost like another sun sign in the chart, okay? So you're a Leo sun, and you happen to be a Leo South Node, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of Leo energy, a lot of expression, a lot of heart energy, a lot of leadership, right? And a lot of creativity. But most people don't have, it's half and half. It's really just like random, but most people probably don't have their South Node in the same sign as their sun sign. Right? So we are actually more of our South Node than our sun sign because we're growing into our sun sign. So for example, everyone sees me, they follow me, and they're like, oh my God, are you an Aries? And I'm like, no, I'm a Taurus, but I'm a South Node in Aries. So they actually see my Aries because the South Node, again, is your deeply ingrained behavioral patterns. It's so natural to you. We just act it out, okay? It's what we wake up in the morning and we just are our South Node. We have to like really move into our sun sign, but we're naturally our South Node. So the thing with the South Node is this is what your gifts are. This is what you're like a CEO of, okay? So think of it like that. You're a CEO of this. You've mastered this energy. You know how to use it, okay? If you keep going down that road your whole life, there's no room for growth because you already know how to do it. Like I know how to be super independent. I could jump on a plane. I could start a business. I could go around the world. I mean, trust me, I'm a professional single person, right? I know how to do that, okay? But there's no room for growth. So I use that to empower people to stand in their power because it's not hard for me, right? That's not what I need to work at in this lifetime. I got other things to work on, okay? So I use that and I teach that to empower people to, step into their power, to be their strength, to trust themselves, right? That's Aries energy. The North Node, for everyone, this is a lifelong journey, okay? This is where we need to really evolve and where we need to grow and where your soul said, I'm going to do some work in this lifetime in this area. I don't have a lot of practice. It's hard for me, right? And we have to understand that your North Node might be difficult for you, but it might be okay for me. And my North Node might be hard for me, but it might be okay for you because we're all so different. And our soul has had many different soul experiences, right? So we have to just kind of let that go and accept that it's new for our soul, okay? It's like us like learning how to walk for the first time. We're going to fall many times, okay? So with that in mind, our North Node is one of the things our soul, like when I look at a chart, I could look at the North Node right away and say, okay, I know one of the main reasons why they incarnated. Because, and here's the thing, this is what's so funny. Everyone wants to know purpose. Why am I here? Why am I here? It's like so easy for me to be like, boom, okay, this is a major thing. But the funny part is people won't get it right when I tell them, because it literally takes a lifetime for us to step into that and to integrate and to use that energy. You know, it's one thing for me to tell people, oh, you're learning this, this, and this, but it's another thing for them to start embodying it. And that's what happens as we get older. And then it starts to make more sense. And then we start to move more into it, right? So it's one thing to get mental level, but then we have to start embodying it and start acting it out. So that being said, our North Node is our purpose and our soul's evolutionary journey of where we need practice, where we need experience, what we're moving into. And it's tricky for us because it's asking us to do things that are completely opposite from our South Node, which is our behavioral patterns, right? So it is new experience for our soul. And then, you know, I look at so many other things in the chart and kind of weave it together. And it becomes this beautiful dance and this beautiful harmony. And, you know, it's like I have this map, this key that everyone's looking for, right? But here's something else I want to say. That I don't know if many astrologers would openly admit this, but I think it's really important. I can do a reading with someone, and depending on where they're at, they might be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know, right? Or someone could be like, oh my God, I've been thinking this, I've been seeing this, or I've been starting to feel this, or been starting to move into this. It really depends on where you're at in life, right? And it's not to blame anyone or shame anyone, but it could only make sense if our consciousness is awake. So what I'm trying to do is open your consciousness, give you bits and pieces, but I can't do the work for you. And wherever someone's at, that's where they're at, right? They're going to get what they're going to get, and they're going to get bits and pieces. And then as they grow and evolve, they start integrating. They're like, oh yeah, I remember she said that. I thought she was crazy. That didn't make any sense to me. But now I'm starting to see how that plays out. So then we start moving and moving and moving. So it's not like this one time, oh, my whole entire life changed and everything is good and I understand everything. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I'm going to be doing that? No way. But then it happens.
So it's like a goal, a lifelong goal that we have to work on and embrace new parts of. And I like the distinction between life purpose and soul purpose, actually. Like soul purpose meaning our soul's evolution through many lifetimes versus like the job that we have in this lifetime, which is something more momentary. Okay, what I would love for us to do, Danielle, is to give us like in like a few descriptive sentences about the purpose of different of when the North Node is in different zodiac signs. Can we do just that? Just pass through the different zodiac signs and see. So let's say, for example, if your North Node, let's start from the beginning, is in Aquarius, what could that like general collective purpose be?
So Aquarius energy is very interesting. So that's you, right? You said you have North Node in Aquarius. So Aquarius, you're here to really, one, learn to let go a little bit because Leo likes to hold on and wants all this. It's always interesting when I talk to someone with this axis, okay? So Leo is very much about if I just have the relationship, if I just have love, if I just feel appreciated, everything's gonna be good, right? No, right, and I get it. I have a Mars in Leo, so I'm like, give it to me strong, right? Like I love it. Okay, that's why I love Leos. But the North Node Aquarius it's moving out from being just solely about self because Leo is the expression of self, right? Aquarius is about us, about the community, about the collective. So when you have a North Node in Aquarius, which I talk to a lot of people that have podcasts, a lot of shows I've been on. There's a lot of people that have that because you guys are doing big things. You're here, I call it like the Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, because you're literally doing stuff for humanity. So you're using your individual creativity, but it's literally not about you. It's about the collective and humanity and about serving in a beautiful way.
Perfect. Makes perfect sense. Like knowing myself, that's like what I do in my business, like helping people find their life purpose so we can change the world. So that's very spot on. Okay, moving into Pisces. So North Node in Pisces.
North Node in Pisces, you're here for this beautiful journey of really letting go of the material plane and understanding like trust and spirituality and psychic abilities. You're learning compassion and forgiveness for yourself. So that's a not a tricky one in a negative way. So people, when they hear that, they're like, oh God, Danielle said it's bad. No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's more evolved because you really need to surrender into your spirit. In how many people can trust that something is coming even if they can't see it, right?
Yeah. Wow. So loving this. Okay.
But your soul signed up for a big one. Yep.
And then we have North Node in Aries.
Aries. So North Node Aries, you're learning independence. You're learning to trust your primal instinct. You're learning to, which I don't need practice on because I'm like pure primal. You're learning to really be independent, stand in your power, have courage, go after things, jump in, and just really trust that you know and you don't have to ask everyone what to do.
Really owning it, basically.
Owning it. Yeah.
North Node in Taurus.
Taurus is beautiful. So Northern Taurus, you're really learning to stop and smell the roses. You're learning to be embedded, like really in your body. You're learning to use your senses. You're learning to gain self-worth and know your values. Because before, if you have a North Node in Scorpio, you had a South Node in excuse me, if you have a North Node in Taurus, you have a South Node in Scorpio, and you were used to learning the values of other people, right? So now it's about you and your goals and your values, and you're like, you know, I'm a Taurus. We are strong in our core. We are like an oak tree, right?
Yes.
It already fits the combination because I'm a Taurus strength with a South Node Aries. So I'm like, let's fucking do it. You know, like it's powerful.
Yeah, so there's a combination of like your North Node with your zodiac sign and how this can combine into something different, basically. Just it creates like a blended energy that you can use to create something in the world.
Yep, and that's where I start taking it and we start doing a dance because every birth chart is different. So I start combining and then dancing and weaving it together, and it's this beautiful like poetry of your soul.
Oh, so sounds so deep and so I love it.
So much.
So before we continue, everybody watching live, let us know if you know what your North Node and South Nodes are. Just pop them quickly in the comments so that we can see who's showing up here. Okay, let's move on to North Node in Gemini.
North Node in Gemini, you're here to master communication. And many North Node Geminis might laugh. They're going to be like, huh? What? I can't do that. You're really here to master communication, community, conversation, writing, sharing, and networking. You're going to be a master communicator, you know, in this lifetime. So it's really beautiful. And you're learning to connect in a different way, because before with the South Node in Sagittarius, you're just used to doing your own thing. Don't even need to respond to anyone.
Yes. Okay. North Node in Cancer.
North Node in Cancer is really beautiful. You're learning to feel. Like if I could just summarize that in one thing, you're learning to feel. I mean, I have a Cancer moon. I mean, I feel everything. So you're learning to feel. You're learning to nourish your soul. You're learning to move inwards, because the journey really happens inward in this lifetime through your heart space. So you're learning to be vulnerable, to share your emotions, and really help other people with that as well.
I can see the comments right now coming in. A few North Nodes in Pisces.
Beautiful.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to North Node in Leo.
North Node in Leo. Oh my God. You guys are here to have fun. F-U-N. Like, you are here to play. And really, you're here to be brave and courageous and connect with your heart, because you're used to being in your head so much because you have a South Node in Aquarius. And so you spend all that time imagining in the future. You're here to be present in your heart space right here, right now. Be in the moment. Blast that heart open.
So you mentioned something really interesting. So if you know your North Node, you can automatically know what your South Node is. So it goes, it's the opposite.
There's a polarity in astrology, and so it's always opposite it. Yeah. Okay,
makes sense. Okay. And moving on to North Node in Virgo.
North Node in Virgo. You're here for refinement. Your soul is used to taking everything in with the South Node in Pisces. And so you're learning that that's not actually serving you anymore in this lifetime. So you're learning refinement. You're learning to be grounded. You're learning physical healing, to be on this earth plane, to be of emotional but physical service to people.
Yeah.
And really be clear on what you need and what you don't need, because Pisces literally takes everything in. But it's like, you don't need everything. Pisces takes in the wounds, the pain, the fears, right? And I don't need that, right? I just need to be very clear on how this is going to serve me so I can help other people.
Lovely how the polarities complement each other in a way, and they just like fix each other's like negative aspects in a way. Okay.
Right. And it's the yang, it's relationship too.
Exactly.
You need the polarity. It's really beautiful.
Balancing. Okay, speaking of balancing, North Node in Libra.
North Node in Libra. This is what I have. So, hey, I and you and everyone else, you are learning relationships. Hey, what is that, right? You're learning balance. You're learning that it's not all about you. It's about the other people, which is actually, if I could throw this tidbit in, my journey towards my partner. One of my soul's lessons I know just from, spirit is like, I'm having to cultivate patience because he's not ready yet. And I'm learning that lesson of it's not just about me, because I'm like, I'm ready to go, right? And oh, you could just manifest in a second. Well, no, part of my soul's lesson is I need to learn, hey, it's not just about me. He needs to get his stuff together too. He's not ready. There's two people in the story, right? So this is really beautiful. So you're learning balance, you're learning harmony, you're learning how to be more PC, you're learning how to be a co-creator with someone instead of it just, like charging through and doing it on your own. And so it's a really beautiful energy. It's a total shift from that masculine to the feminine energy. So.
Lovely. Okay. North Node in Scorpio.
Woo! You are here for some deep shit in this lifetime. You are here to really dive deep, to go into all those places that you've been pushing out and avoiding. If you have a North Node in Scorpio, you have a South Node in Taurus, so you're kind of used to the material world of like maybe shopping, maybe getting too many things. Maybe that defines you, but now you're learning to let go of it all.
Oh, wow.
Burn that stuff down. And, it's not saying you're going to be like in a box on the corner. It's not about that, but you have to let go many times in this lifetime because you're going to have many, many deaths, right? Which is transformation. And so you have to let go and you have to purge and you have to just continue to keep diving deep into the crevices of your soul that scare you. But that is your beautiful journey in this lifetime.
Why does North Node in Scorpio sound more intense than the other one? Are there?
Mm-hmm. Because Scorpio is intense. It's the most powerful sign, I would say, of the zodiac because it wants to feel, it wants to go deeply. So my moon is in the 8th house, which is the house of Scorpio. So it's like, I'm not doing some light, fluffy work, right? I'm putting on my scuba gear and we're diving in. We're getting to those wounds. We're pulling that shit out. Like we're getting that stuff.
Makes you want to be born as a Scorpion in the next lifetime, just so I can grow really intensely. Okay, moving on.
This lifetime, so it's okay, Like your journey is perfect. Your soul picked it.
For this particular lifetime, exactly. So, North Node in Sagittarius.
Ooh, you're here for fun in a different way. You're here to enlighten yourself and to learn. So normally you're used to reading books, you have a heavy mind about learning, but it's not about books in this lifetime. It's about experiences and consciousness and all the things that you cannot learn in school. In a book, you're here to learn about. So it's travel, it's through philosophy of life, through meeting, through understanding religions, cultures, and different people. What are we here for? What is the meaning of life? You're literally expand your mind, and it's beautiful.
Being very inquisitive about life and the world, in other words. And finally, North Node in Capricorn.
North Node in Capricorn. You are here to be an adult in this lifetime because you have a South Node in Cancer. And so with Cancer, it could be a lot of I just want to stay safe. I just want to be taken care of. I'm just going to cry about my feelings all the time, which is okay and healthy, right? To cry and feel it. But Capricorn saying, no, it's time you're so wrapped up in your emotions, you have to step outside of that and contribute to the world. How are you going to be the CEO? How are you going to be an authority figure? How are you going to be an adult? You have to present yourself, you have to show up in this world and be a leader in this world.
I'm just hearing the comments Sally, who has a North Node in Capricorn. She's like, I don't want to be an adult.
Yeah, totally. I know. It's but your soul picked it. So just ride the wave, honey.
And there's a question from Truth Seeking Journeys. How do I know what my North Node is? How can people find out?
Yeah, I think here's the thing. I have a new website. So you can go to my website. I'm just pulling it up right now because I don't actually know if it shows your actual North Node. But I think it does. So go to my website and it says map your birth chart. I'm just going to check for you while we're doing this. Okay. So yeah, you can go to my website and it pulls up your birth chart and it's shaped like a little horseshoe and it will have a T in the middle. So,
speaking of your website, could you give us your website and where can people get in touch with you? What's easiest?
Yeah, so my website is Danielle Paige. It's my name. It's new. It's really beautiful. DaniellePaige.com. And you could get in touch with me through there. You can follow me on Instagram. Yeah. Okay. So my website has it. It's new. So I didn't know if it had all the things. So it shows your north node. So it's a little horseshoe with a T in the middle, and it will show where it is.
Perfect. Danielle,
Yeah.
thank you so much for this fabulous chat. It was a perfect way to finish this season of my Lit Up Lightworker podcast and live recordings. It was so content packed. You gave us so much information. I definitely have a much deeper understanding of astrology at this point. I see this as this multi-layered system to getting to know yourself and your journey through the many lifetimes. And thank you so much for specifically telling us about the North Node. I think it's fascinating, and it's definitely given me a new understanding as to what my life purpose is personally, and also how to see people. And don't judge people solely by their zodiac sign, but really understand that there is a universe within every single person when you see their astrological chart and start getting deeper. Thank you so much, and wishing you the most beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It was so fun.
Bye-bye.